I don't know about you, but I am almost depressed that it's September, and I'm sitting here watching Batavia trim her indoor plants like it's wintertime, and she getting all excited because she ain't got nothing to do in her garden. Today we're going to talk about our garden update and see if we can't get Batavia back outside and out of the indoor plants right here on the Backyard Gardens podcast.
To have a good harvest, one must plant good seeds and must also use the right kind of fertilizer. The carrots have grown large and firm. How good they will taste.
Welcome to the Backyard Gardens podcast, where we talk about all things gardening and give the information out for you to be successful in your garden, whether it's your first or your last. We are your hosts, Ben, the Backyard Gardener, and
Batavia, the Front Yard Gardener.
one in the country,
One in the city.
Now get ready as we dig deep into this wonderful world of gardening as we learn to grow and grow for change. Man, what you trimming?
So this is a bamboo, lucky bamboo, and it just sits
Well,
in... Yeah, it ain't that
it'd
lucky.
be good to know, but your mic ain't in front of you, so there you go.
All right, yeah. So, and it's not that lucky because it just sits in water, and somehow the leaves are yellowing. It's completely dry. So, real talk, this is a sign of a busy garden year. So, historically, I would be outside in the garden, and like all of my indoor plants would die.
Yeah.
The last 2 years, I managed to keep almost everything alive inside. Which, I mean, you're talking about the balance that I had to strike. This year, that ain't my story. So, so yeah.
You just let it go.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to recover from it now. So here we are.
I hear you. So everybody, thank you for listening to us today and joining us. Check out our Patreon page if you want to help out the show. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to bringing you much more high-quality content. So...
Oh, no, that's terrible.
You are delayed and it's clogged. You got to dust that bell off.
No, I had like
yeah.
some dead plant leaves or something stuck in it.
So we have a listener question of today. Mm-hmm. And this one comes off of the Backyard Gardens YouTube channel. And specifically, it's off of the fall planting video that I did where I toured my garden and discussed what I thought I was going to do, which, by the way, there's changes now.
That's the Wild Things
Shocker.
garden from that video, right?
No, that was the whole garden.
Oh, okay.
Where I just kind of was like, yeah, this is going here, this is going there. Mm-hmm. Anyways, they say, hey, love the podcast. I'm in North Carolina. Holla. Zone 7B. And I have started my brassicas and other fall veggie seeds indoors a few weeks ago. I'm concerned about putting them out in the ground because of cabbage worms. Is that what they're called? Are you covering your brassica seedlings? I really don't want to cover them, but would like to hear your thoughts. Thanks. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you I don't want to cover them either, so I don't.
Cover them. Do it.
Don't. So what's your thoughts?
I'm not adamant about a lot of things with gardening, but this I am adamant about. Interestingly enough, and I don't know if I was going to share it as a part of the garden update, but I did a pretty big harvest of collards this weekend. And as a part of that, my collards had gotten so big where they were bursting out of the cover that I use. So I had all kinds of torn spots in it. And I realized I have 2 more months of the cabbage moth and ultimately the cabbage worm. So I had to go into my stash of tulle, Tulle fabric that I use
Tulle.
No, I think it's tulle.
Damn, yeah. I've been saying it wrong.
Or, we both could be wrong. Who knows? But anyway, that's why we spell it out.
One of us is right. One of us is wrong.
I mean,
it
could be a third correct pronunciation. But anywho. And so, yeah, the idea is I normally can get all the way through the season. I hate to put new fabric, if you will, on the garden, on the bed at this time of year. But I've seen the damage. I've planted things like bok choy, which the cabbage worm likes too, in September and had it just eaten to pieces. So
is it the cabbage worm or cabbage looper?
I think they're 2 different things, but they're very similar in kind of the damage that they do. So the cabbage moth, which there are kind of 2 types of moths. The white moth, right, lays the eggs. And if you have a green worm eating on your veggies, that's what we're talking about. So long and short of it, it's not everyone's story. I mean, you don't have them as bad as I do, I think. But
I have them terrible.
Oh, do you? You just don't?
Oh, yeah. I put my seedlings out to harden off, and within a day, I had them all over them. Yeah. But I treat for them. I don't cover, I treat.
Yeah.
So that's my gig. And so I did an aphid video about aphids, and I gave a recipe about how to kill aphids, get rid of them. And for loopers, I used the same recipe, but instead of neem, I use BT, because BT directly kills caterpillars and stuff like that. And with a couple treatments, I can get right on top of them. It's not really that much of an issue. It's like aphids for me. It's just I get on top of them, I spray them, I hand pick them, and then they're gone. So there's really no need for me to cover them.
Yeah, and I know that you're uber careful around those things when it comes to what you're spraying, but like BT kills all caterpillars, right? You know, and this is in part, you know, it's a worm, but it's in that same family, right? So it's...
Well, I don't just spray everything.
Well, you're spraying these plants we're talking about, right?
Brassicas, yeah, but you don't usually have these things on there. And I'm not totally sure that they kill all caterpillars either. Okay. I want to be clear about that. That may not be the case. I can't tell you that 100% though.
Yeah, so. I can't imagine it's just checking out like, you know, what will ultimately become the cabbage looper. Well, we're not going to argue about that. So you have two options here. You could cover them, which was the question, or you can treat them, and both take some effort, right? So the downside for me of covering, which again, I'm a huge fan of, is as an example, this weekend, I had a lot of dead, I'm not going to say the word right, so we're going to skip it. A lot of dead leaves. On the underside of the plants. And that was the case because these, I mean, this is going to be like a brag, right? So the plants had gotten so big. I measured, and with the plants leaning and then curving back up, I'm at 3.5 feet for these Georgia collards. But anywho, again, humble brag. The issue is, though, that it's covered, and because I'm covering it so that cabbage moth can't get to it, I don't want to uncover it. So I go in there maybe once a month, if that. Right. You know, so especially when plants are younger, if you're doing things like, I don't even fertilize that bed. You know, shame on me, right? That's just the deal. So anywho, it comes with some notes, right? So as soon as you uncover it, she's out there watching you. So
I just looked it up. Are you ready for this? Damn, I hate saying the word. No, there's different strands of BT.
Okay, good gosh.
So BT, and this is based on gardensalive.com, so I haven't really, fully vested it, but it says your BT is 100% butterfly safe. There are several strands of BT, and the only one you're using, known as BTI, only affects mosquitoes and other biting members of the fly family. Oh, so this is somebody using a different thing, but you can go in here and look at the one I use specifically is Bacillus thuringiensis, and it's got the words printed on it, and I believe that it says on there it is butterfly safe. So
do you want to continue to kind of go tit for tat with that? Because I could say butterfly safe. So the adult butterfly, is that really saying that, insert whatever the
caterpillar.
Worm? Okay.
Yeah, it said the butterfly caterpillar itself. And I think the only reason why I believe is because they don't feed off of the plant, the brassicas, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but you can't cut it that way. And I do agree, like they're not, you don't typically see them on a brassica, but that doesn't mean it's safe because you don't typically see them. Yeah. Anywho, I think we have two valid ways to try to preserve, no pun intended, your brassicas. We know that you can still eat them with holes here and there, but the more damage they do, at some point the plant is going to succumb to it. At some point, you're really not going to, it's not going to be that appetizing, So I like that bok choy last year, I ended up tossing it. So
I agree with you when it's all holy like that. Now I have successfully gotten on top of them solely by hand picking.
I have as well.
But that was that's a very long. It's not very long because usually it's like when they're seedlings, so they're pretty easy to get. But eventually it gets to the point where it's like, all right, I'm done hand picking. Like we got to figure something else out. So
no, this time last year I was hand picking on mature plants because again it's the cautionary tale of taking the cover off, doing some things around the garden, and you know sometimes you just can't help. She's gonna come for it, that I'm gonna keep a close eye because I had the beds uncovered for quite a while this weekend. You know, so
I am curious though. You know, like I said, I put my seedlings out, and within days I had them on there, and I looked and I was like, "Son of a bitch, that fast." Why are they attracted to brassicas so hardcore like that? You know, you don't see them all summer, and then within 2 days you get them. It just, you know, it's shocking to me.
I see them from April through October.
But you're growing brassicas during that time too, right?
I am, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we aren't here. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the question. So, this article even says that GM, genetically modified corn's impact on monarch caterpillars are negligible. I don't know about that. So, anyways, you know, you've got two options: cover, treat. If you treat, you can use BT. If you don't, you can cover. It's whatever you want to do. Honestly, I think it's probably both just as much of a pain in the ass.
Yeah,
equally.
that's fair. That's fair to say. And it's probably more so just out of like your habit, your history, your history. You have previously done this in your garden. I've previously covered. And so sometimes it's hard to get out of our habits. Yeah,
because you typically don't like to treat, right?
No, and I don't like to treat. There's a small part of me where it's like I'm just adding something to this vegetable where, you know, most times organic means organic, yada, yada, yada. But it's just the discipline. I mean, I'm struggling still with fertilizing on a regular schedule. So
right. Yeah, I have a hard time fertilizing on a regular schedule too. But we get it done. All right, there you go. Leave your questions on Backyard Gardens TV on Instagram. You can do the YouTube channel or any of the other usual places, and we will get to them. And yes, ma'am.
Good luck on the brassicas and the fall garden, buddy.
Yeah. And what's the deal with the pictures and stuff? Can you run through that, Batavia? Because you seem to have a better handle on that than me. Oh,
finally, I have a better handle on something. Finally, I have a handle on something. So any parts of your garden that you want to share with us, use the hashtag BYG podcast in your post on Instagram. And we will share some of those on Instagram under Backyard Gardens TV in our stories. However, if you have some wide shot of your garden and you're like, hey, this is what's happening. Here's my 3 pots. Here's my 30 pots. Here are my 55,000 beds. Like if it's a frame worthy picture, go ahead and DM us at Backyard Gardens TV on Instagram and you could be featured in a post.
That's right. We'll do it. And I will say you guys have some awesome gardens. We've been looking at them all summer and they're all impressive in their own right. So thank you so much for sending them in. And we're going to take this break and then we're going to come back with our garden update and we got some big news. Hey everybody, thanks for checking out the Backyard Gardens podcast.
If you like what we're doing and you want to continue to support the podcast, head over to our Patreon page to sign up.
You can also make a one-time donation using PayPal. Both of these links are in the description.
With your support, we can continue growing and helping others in their gardens. See ya.
All right, was August good to your garden?
My garden turned up. Are the kids still saying that? I don't think they're saying it. I think that's like a decade ago. But my garden turned up in August. It's been good to me, yeah. The first half of the month, maybe the first 15, 20 days even, were tough. It really took some time for me to find my groove. And I'm just getting into it, like back into the, oh no, these veggies want off of these plants. It's time. You know, I'm fighting a few different, bugs and things. But overall, as you normally do in a garden and as you normally do here in August, but it's giving me life. That's what older kids used to say, but I don't even know if that's still in. Oh, goodness. You know.
Man, you're aging yourself
It's hard
quick
to be hip, man. It's hard to be hip.
We're 2 minutes in on the main subject, and you're already aged yourself. That's okay. Mine is, it is just now, so the heat's starting to break, and my tomatoes are starting to flower again.
Ah, very cool.
So yeah, I was successful in treating my leaf spot.
Congratulations.
Ooh. Yep, video coming soon on that. So you're gonna have to check it out there about what I used. Yeah, it was a long process and it was very trying, but I was able to stick with it. And yeah, maybe we'll get some tomatoes through the rest of the year. Who knows? I kind of want to pull them down though, because I'm so used to it. Is that bad?
You know, it's not. And for our day ones, you know, the ones that have been listening since very early on, I know I am a changed woman. My tomato plants, they're giving me a little bit of hell this year, right? So I'm going to think long and hard about what specific tomato varieties I grow next year.
I thought you were going to talk about you were going to think long and hard about crop rotation.
Oh, I've already thought long and hard about that. Yeah, that's already going to be in the mix. And I'm only because I'm committing to growing less tomatoes. If I still wanted to grow like 13, 14, 15 tomatoes, then damn it, I just deal with what I got. You know, the cage baby is 4 tomatoes. The cage baby is going to have a little bit of versatility, you know, next year.
I think you could do some crazy stuff in the cage baby, and I'm actually going to be growing more tomatoes next year, but I've got to figure out stuff too. I can't, if I'm going to keep growing indeterminate varieties, I need to figure out how to manage the size better. Yeah.
Well, I think I'm going to step outside of the cage baby for, there are a couple of things I've been testing out, if you will, like growing tomatoes in the open, in the wild. And I could just have 2 lucky years. But I've been able to grow tomatoes for 2 years in the front yard garden and them virtually be unbothered. So I think I'm going to use that.
Put them on that cattle panel.
That's exactly what I'm. You know what?
Sorry.
At some point, it's you just know where I'm going, you know. So
no, we're like in tune. That's the problem.
Yeah, sure. So that's where I've grown in the last 2 years up front. It takes some planning as far as kind of where, because it's hard to get like to them because there's a bed right there. But the breaking news is I'm teetering on giving melons a break next year.
Yeah. I don't know what I'm going to do. My melons, they keep flopping. I had one good year, man. One good year, and then it's just...
Last year was enough for me to say my entire garden is going to be dedicated to melons. Thank goodness I didn't do that. Yeah. So their performance, and then even so far, I haven't harvested them all, so maybe there's going to be some surprise, right? But the health of the plants, which I still don't know if it's tied to the cucumber plants or not that they're near. The number of melons, just so far few, size as well as taste. So far I've gotten mostly cantaloupe, and it's like better than the conference cantaloupe, the hotel buffet cantaloupe, but not that much better. Not that much better, you know. So yeah, we'll see. Anywho,
that's up there with the honeydew melon.
No, last year I don't even know if I really have any true honeydew melons. So I think that there's some lessons to be learned for me for melons, but we won't go over them here. All of that said, I am on a daily watch for tomatoes this year. Like, I'm watching them day and night, if you pick up on what I'm throwing down when I say night. We're going to see what comes of it. Really, it's going to be once the harvest really comes in, once I know what I'm able to preserve, that's going to be the telltale about what I do next year. Let's just be
You still haven't
real.
Really gotten much tomatoes yet?
I probably have like maybe 10 or 12 pounds, maybe 15 pounds. I'm a terrible guesser when it comes to that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's not much though. Yeah, ours are coming back to life. The heat, man, they drowned them out.
Yeah.
But breaking news. So I had a friend come over, and she's a gardener, and she knows a lot about trees. And she was walking around our property, and she picked up something and ate it. And I'm like, what are you doing? Because this is not in a spot where we have food, really. And she was like, that's a cherry tree. And I was like, come again? We got a who? She's like, yeah, there's 3 cherry trees right here. And I was like, no shit. So what happened was when we built our house, they cleared a spot out of the forest for us, and they knocked this tree in half. And it was big, so I was like, well, let's just see what happens. And it's grown back. So for years, there was nothing on it, and now it's starting to grow back. And it turns out that we have a damn fruit tree. So, I mean, it's crazy because the whole time I've been sitting here complaining how I need to grow more fruit, I need to grow more fruit. And now I have this fruit tree. And so it's kind of funny how things work because it's all grown up underneath it. Because I literally thought it was just a tree of some sort. And so now I've got to clear out from under the tree and empty it out, make sure that it can get nutrients and all this stuff. So,
but this is the whole idea of how many years it takes some fruit trees to produce, right?
Yeah. Well, you have to remember that it was basically just ripped in half. Like when they built the house, they just kind of, I don't know what they did, but it looked like they just like split it, like Hulk came and just split it. And it's been growing back, and this year it is like more flush than it's ever been with leaves. So we'll see what we get. I mean, I'm gonna nurse it. You know what I mean? I'm gonna get out there and clean under it and make it so it's presentable and can get some more light, hopefully. And I don't know if I'm gonna make it get more light because honestly, it's been growing there for a long time without any help. Yeah. So it's a very interesting turn of events, though. And specifically, I believe it was a black cherry tree, if anybody's curious.
Well, congratulations on your newfound discovery.
I know. I can't believe it. So that's my breaking news. And podcast is over. Everybody have a good day. Bye.
I had something playing in the background and it had subtitles and it was in Dutch. Like, when did that happen?
What are you watching Dutch for?
I don't remember ever watching Dutch, but, you know, it was one of those weird cases of amnesia. You wake up and you can speak a whole different language.
Yeah. So are your cucumbers doing okay? Because last update we were talking crap about them. Oh,
I'm so glad you remember what we talked about on the last update. I have discovered not your Clausen's knockoff recipe, the one that you actually can, not that one, but I've discovered a refrigerator pickle that's very similar to a Clausen's, and I'm like trying to negotiate in my head how I can just like not have egg and milk and any of those things in the refrigerator so I can make more space. So my cucumbers, I mean, they look as sickly as cucumbers normally do in my garden, you know, at the beginning of September. So there's that, but they're still producing. Like as soon as I think, all right, I have my last batch, then I get a few more. And based on the size, I mean, and pickling, refrigerator pickling is so easy. You can just pickle a jar. So it's national pickling cucumber.
National pickling.
The only thing I don't like about them is it has those black, I don't know what the official name is, but the black kind of spiky things, prickly things.
Yeah.
And so cleaning those off is a little bit of a pain in the butt, but I'm pretty pleased. I've been able to stay on top of them from a size standpoint because so many of the leaves on these plants have died back. I can kind of see things now. So yeah, I'm feeling good about them.
You're where I was with my cucumbers about a month ago. Because they started dying back, and just fast forward, they're dead. Dead. Okay. So, but it was a very slow death, and they were producing all the way up till the end, and now we've eaten our last cucumber, and I'm like, damn, that's the second year in a row they've burnt me. So now my market moors I have planted, they are shaded, but they're flowering and they're small. So we'll see if we can get a cucumber out of them. I don't know. Yeah,
I also I had my lemon cucumbers, and those are seeds that were gifted to me, and the seeds were found. So it's like kind of two people removed, and this is the second or third year I've grown them. And I'm just intrigued by them, but I don't know if I really enjoy them. Like, you got to get them really early. As soon as they get yellow in my garden, notice that I make that note. Well, the 50% of my garden and the 50% of your garden, like that garden collectively, they're just so seedy. And since they're a small kind of apple-sized cucumber, it doesn't make for real good eats. So I don't know if I'm even going to give any space to them next year. The only benefit is they take a longer time to produce than the regular kind of green, if you will, cucumbers. And so that means that I'm still getting cucumbers much later in the season. So that's a benefit. So I'm not sure. I hate to even say it, but I think I'm going to play around with like one more different variety.
Right. Yeah. My last real job I had where I was going to an office, There's a guy, he gardened, he would bring in 15 lemon cucumbers a day. I mean, it was just nonstop. And I tried them and I was never a fan. And I'd be like, Mike, what are you doing? When are you, harvesting these? And he's like, when they're ready. Because they were so seedy. I thought they were just, overdone, and they weren't. And it was not pleasant. So
there's a part
that's just me.
Yeah, there's a part of me that doesn't want to give up, because if you get them when they're very pale, because you don't think that's when they're ready, then I've enjoyed them much more. It's a nice, you don't have to worry about being overwhelmed by this huge cucumber and you're basically needing to, kind of just have cucumber with a little bit of lettuce or whatever.
Yeah.
It's definitely a personal size cucumber. But anyway, I don't know. Maybe I'll just dedicate a little smaller space and see if I can get on top of it. It's less about the plant and more about the gardener, I think.
Yeah. I would like to find a true bush variety.
Yeah, if anyone has any recommendations, I call bull on every package of seeds I bought that claimed to be a bush variety.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They all are like vining bush varieties. So I would like to find one. Like, how cool would it be to like have a legit cucumber bush?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I mean, these, and I guess the virus is, the leaves start to dry up and get all spotty and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure. So, I don't know. I'm with you on that. I just know that you were struggling with them and I was struggling with them. And I was actually not long after we recorded that episode, I was like, screw this.
Yeah.
And I had like one lonely vine going up and I was like holding on to hope. And then it just went.
I'm here to tell you the only reason why I spent too much time, to be quite frank, on cucumbers in my mind. That was just another thing that was an annoyance. Without this new refrigerator pickle recipe, I mean, I would have.
Well,
go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say, you talked to Kelly about the sweet pickles that we did.
No, we talked about the Clausen recipe that you guys did.
I thought she was telling you about the sweet pickles too.
No. I have a recipe for, I mean, it's not a recipe. I have basically here's the package, the mix, and stir this in, and for the sweet pickles.
We did, we did some pickles and we tried a new recipe because that's how I was like, I'm kind of tired of Clausen's. Let's live on the edge this year. And so she made these pickles and them bitches had to sit out and you had to change the brine every day for 5 days. And they ended up taking 8 cups of sugar.
Oh, wow.
When it was all said and done. And I was like, I mean, it was getting out of control. I was like, all right. She's like, all right, today you got to do this. And it's like a different step each day.
How many jars did you guys get out of that?
You really want to ask me that question?
Yeah.
3. And I was like, all right, we're not making any more pickles this year. I'm done. I'm done with pickles. Like, I don't care. You can go buy them. Like, I'm not interested.
I want to get off this subject, but there is something like, but I got one more thing to say about it. So cucumbers are very close to tomatoes for me in that, not my love for them, but they really take me back to the beginning of my garden, like my garden days, my garden experience. And so, and we've talked about how freaking expensive they are in the stores here. But they take a lot of space. They are like a problem child. They give a lot, and in most cases, you're basically trying to give them away. I don't know. There's so much going on in my mind, and I really want to push everything back and just say, get vegetables off plants, and then figure it out for next year later. Because we've already talked about, and I'm not sure where this airs now or if it already aired. Yeah, we already talked about, you guys already heard, make adjustments for your summer garden, like start looking at your garden now for next year. Yeah. And I've already done that, but then there's like, I have so many things on top of that,
How are you going to move me into my next update?
You see how that feels? It doesn't feel that great, does it?
No, it felt wonderful. No. I love the seamless transition. So behind the wild garden, there's that patch of bush that grew up. It's all bushy. So I've been clearing out every day. I go out there and I clear out 4 to 5 pieces every day because it's a lot. Yeah. And I'm almost done, and then I'm going to plant a cover crop for the rest of the year. So I'm going to plant buckwheat, hairy vetch, some kind of pea, I forgot the name of it, and rye. And to let it sit for the winter. And then behind...
What's hairy vetch?
Go ahead. It's some kind of plant that's good. basically what the goal with this cover crop is to choke out the opportunity for any weed to grow. So, and then in the beginning of the year, what I'll do is I'll come behind and I will tamp it down or cut it down, one of the two, whatever the winter doesn't kill off. And then that will lay on top, and then I'll mulch over all of that. And then that will prepare that soil to be used for next year. And then behind that, I'm going to put 2 more cattle panels back there to help grow because I learned that without preserving food, everything that I'm doing is useless for me, my goals. So I need to grow more black-eyed peas. I need to grow more of these other, easier to preserve vegetables and, beans and stuff like that. So it's just adding more trellis space in, and I'm starting to realize that I'm very much so a vertical gardener and didn't even realize it. So I look around, I'm like, because I'm like, all right, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, adding in 6, 7, 8, 9, like 10 trellises in my garden, and it's getting out of control, but there's a purpose and I get it. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of redoing all these things, and it kind of, that whole episode sparked that.
You make me happy. Generally, I love you. You're my buddy. You're my pal. You're my garden partner. And the days that you don't annoy the out of me, I love you. And today you've made me the happiest, happy. I'm not sure why I'm so happy that, you're actually a vertical gardener, but I am.
Yeah. I don't know why. I mean, I'm not a vertical only gardener, but there's a lot of trellis space, and it happens to be stuff that I like to grow. I mean, that's part of it.
Man, get the tattoo. Stop fighting it.
I got enough of those. I mean, it's because we were talking about tomatoes in the beginning, and I was like, oh, you can and that's what I want to do is, because these tomatoes got 9 feet tall.
Yeah.
So why not just train them up one of these trellises, and it just kind of gives it more space. And it also gives me another way to rotate my crop. So that's another thing as well.
Excellent point. That's actually one of the challenges that I found with the cage baby, again, very much built for the purpose of strictly growing tomatoes. But if you think about it, while other things have been grown, so this is like it's the 14th or 15th year for that space. I've added soil, right? But I mean, if you go deep down, it's the same dirt that's been there since 2008 when I started my first garden. And tomatoes have been there a lot, right? And so I had this cage baby 2.0 built with the intention of, again, all tomatoes all the time. But we're seeing signs of, that soil is struggling and it needs a break, and that's okay. But then you look and say for tomatoes, which if I do things right between this year and next year, it could be worked out where I have enough preserved to give me a break year, if you will. Right. So I'm not saying stop growing tomatoes altogether. No, never. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying cutting back on some of the ones I'm growing. I think vertical gardening, and maybe this is the reason why I'm excited. It adds.
Are you excited because there's an episode coming soon about vertical gardening?
Well, I'm always excited about new episodes. It adds interest to the garden, right? And
it does.
You and I feel differently about kind of some of the sole purposes of the garden, but interest is absolutely important for me.
I think you're using the wrong word. It adds intrigue.
No, that's the word I want to use. I want to use
that's
interest.
The word I want to use.
Okay. Well, I wasn't talking for you. That's the whole idea. I speak for myself and you can speak for yourself. So yeah, I mean, I think that the big piece there, though, is being able to expand on probably just vining crops, right? So you growing them up versus around, or kind of, them trailing on the ground. So you could cut out a lot of the things that if you grew them the traditional way and not vertically, you'd be taking up so much space and you couldn't get as much as you're getting out of your garden. So
No, you can't. And I mean, if you think about it, a lot of what we grow is vining and naturally, you know, beans, peas, melons, tomatoes, squashes, all those things are all vining. I mean, if I look at my garden now, there's very few things that aren't vining in my garden. And it's crazy.
But then there's that whole idea of really taking advantage of it. So vertical doesn't mean the trellis, the cattle panel trellis always. There are a bunch of different ways to grow vertically. But when you have that trellis, that cattle panel trellis, it's like, oh, I want this whole thing covered, you know. And so what's going to be the viniest, trailingness plant out there? Like, that's what I want.
That's exactly right. So, I mean, it's, you know, I'm going to add them in and we'll see. Now, I am a little worried that that spot doesn't get a lot of sun, but I think if I do it right, I think I can get a good crop of peas out of it, and I think I can get a good crop in the middle of summer. And so, like, right now, like, if I did tomatoes on the back, by the time that they started to kind of crap out anyways, they would be ready to pull. So, you know, it starts getting less and less sun.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes, but I'm excited to actually like really use a cover crop like it's supposed to be. So I did that one year in the wild garden. I put buckwheat down, and it actually worked pretty good. I had good everywhere that the buckwheat grew that year. The next year I had better results out of that space. So I'm excited to kind of do that. And I mean, you've got time. What about doing that in your cage, baby, to refeed the soil? It'll all die off in the winter.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I said, my tomatoes, and I have had great luck pulling green tomatoes off the plants and them ripening before they rot. But my tomatoes are really, whatever's in the cage, baby, now is still really just getting started. So I got another month easily before it gets to the point of like, all right, you know, fight or flight. So I do have one empty bed that I pull potatoes and corn out of. And just a quick note, I had one beautiful ear of corn. And that's all I have to say about that. I mean, the other few were edible, but yeah, it's exactly what you see online when it's like, what happened with this ear of corn? So anyway, that bed's empty, and I'm going to go in and do some super, super, super fast turn crops in that one bed. It's like a 7. You always tease me about this measurement: 7.5 by 3 or 7 by 3.5. So yeah.
So what are the super fast turn crops you're gonna do?
I'm toying, and I'm trying to see if I can practice in not overcrowding. But then we also know I got 2 months, and that's basically it for the most part. So I'm thinking my favorite, which it isn't, but arugula, some radishes. I'm toying with the idea of spinach. One more try for spinach in the fall. So yeah, I want to do bok choy, but I would have to cover my bok choy. I said it again. So I think I'm going to try to direct some bok choy in a bed I already have covered. So
yeah. I'm not, I'm trying to think. I have, so one of the wild gardens is completely fall planted right now. I'll probably have to go back in and resow some seeds. So I did figure out one thing. I direct sowed a lot of stuff in my garden, and it came up, and then it died. Yeah. So then I reseeded, and I figured it out. I have to water every single day. Yeah. I have to water in the day and the evening right now because it's like today it's 96 degrees. So, and it's going to cool off this week. And when I say cool off, it'll be like below 90, but that's a big difference. So if I'm watering it that fat, then I see the stuff happen. So once I get that bed kind of going and things are a little bit bigger, you know, maybe another week or so, then I'll go and then I'll reseed the wild garden where I need to. And then I can continuously water that as well. And I realize when I do that like I did all that work to save my tomatoes from leaf spot and stuff like that. And I could very well be introducing another way for them to get sick. But at this point, like, yeah, okay, I'll get a handful of tomatoes, but I would much rather get, 200 turnips and, 38 bushels of kale out of it than, 5, 6, 10, 12 tomatoes.
Yeah. Yeah, this
You know
is
what I mean?
when we start getting into kind of garden math and garden return. And so I'm uber intrigued by it, but then at some point I'm kind of like, and I don't want to think, I just want to plant and grow.
Well, you said something that rang very true to me about that earlier when we were talking about the cucumbers, and you were like, they don't look any worse than they do every other year around September. Mm-hmm. And what that means is that what comes out of your garden, and that garden math or whatever we're talking about can actually kick in, and then you can start thinking like, okay, I know what I'm getting, which is worth more. And that's just, it's hard to do.
Yeah, it's so here is in my Ben voice. I have
Deeper.
these last years separated my cucumbers where it's kind of like they're on their own. So by now I would have pulled the plants because they're ugly. They're not producing anything. It's wasted space in my mind. And so this is one of my favorite Ben moments. So let's call it September the 2nd is when I pulled them. This is in our pretend garden world. So last year is basically the truth of this. If I would have pulled them 2 weeks beforehand, 3 weeks beforehand, so going back to mid-August, I would have had a better chance at getting something in there for fall and it taking off. And so then I have to look at how many cucumbers did I really get from that sick dying plants plural, in those 2-3 weeks. Not a whole lot,
right?
It's really just, it's a lot of garden hope,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's one could argue, how much more do we want from the cucumber though? I mean, it gave a whole lot this year. I mean, are we being greedy? Are we asking too much of it?
I don't know. I can tell you this: it's a damn cucumber, though. I mean, I can think of other things I'd like to put in its spot.
Yeah, we're not even talking about like a lot of nutrition, even, right? So, so yeah, yeah.
But then you can't have cucumber water. I mean, what the hell?
Well, I have lemon water now, and it's not lemon cucumber or regular cucumber. So,
well, you need to have lemon cucumber water, and then you'd be trend setting,
slurping up seeds from all the seeds that it dropped.
Oh man, I almost gagged a little bit when you said that, because you get an overripe cucumber and all that gel and seeds in the middle.
Yeah.
All set.
Yeah. So my lettuce seeds, I'm going to go way back to the spring. The lettuce I planted, and remember, I let a lot go to seed in my garden.
Do you still have lettuce going?
I hate to brag again. So the lettuce I planted at the end of June, direct sowed, made it through what is the Chicago drought. So we just got out of the 90s, and I was watching those things. They're in containers, so I was watering every day, and I was just like, we just got to get over this hump. So, and a long answer is yes, I still have lettuce. I still have lettuce that I planted 2 months ago, basically. The story I'm telling about lettuce, though, is I finally have some of the spring lettuce that I've been letting go to seed. They're here. The process has been complete. Yeah. Not every single plant, but...
What kind of lettuce was it?
Well, that's the whole damn problem. Now I got to go back and figure out what was there. So it's like red romaine and like things that I enjoy. I think there's 4 Marvel of 4 season. Those are ready. I think the Paris Island may be ready. It's just a real cluster F at this point. They're just sprawled all over the place. It's not my style of gardening, but it was worth the learning process.
Yeah, I did the same thing. So I had 2 lettuces growing next to each other, and it was everything was all good until they started getting like really tall and really flowering. And then when I harvested them, I was like, okay, it's either going to be this little gem lettuce or it's going to be this Butter King. And I didn't even like the Butter King, so I wanted to like give those seeds away. But I like the little gem, and so I was like, well, I want to keep that. So now so what I did is I took each plant seed head and I put them in a paper bag.
Yeah.
And in each paper bag, I wrote Little Gem or Butter King ? And labeled the bag 1 or 2. So then when I sow them, I will separate them, and then I will know which one's which. But I'm the same as you. Like, I was on top of it. I was good. And then I wasn't good. And I just had no idea what I was doing. And, it's like in my shed right now, I've got Waltham broccoli, and collards. And they both look the exact same. And when I grabbed them, I was like, okay, this one's this one, this one's this one. And I put them down, and then I literally walked away to go fill up a can with water, and I came back and I had forgotten.
Remember that radish story? I still don't.
Yeah.
And I'm saving those seeds, and I don't know what the heck they are. I am secretly, that I'm secretly looking forward to all of the volunteer lettuce that I'll have inside the cage bay, because that's predominantly the place I'm saving those seeds. Like, that's where they were. So in my mind, I'm gonna walk out one late winter, early spring day, and it's just going to be little bitty lettuce seedlings all over the place.
That's how it's going to be in my garden too. I'm going to have mustard all in the greenhouse. It's going to be, I'm going to go out. I told Dave, I was out there the other morning. Usually I get up really early in the morning and I'll do something in the garden before it gets hot. And David will wake up and he comes out there and he's like, Daddy, when are we going to fix the greenhouse up? And I was like, well, son, we're going to get up one morning at 5 a.m. and come out here before it gets hot. He's like, I want to help you. It's going to be an adventure. I said, all right. He goes, can we play some music and have a party? And I was like, you damn right, son. We can. So we're going to go out there. And, it's crazy. I literally have not watered it once, and there's still plants that are green and growing.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, I have not watered it at all, and I'm worried that it's going to be hydrophobic. I know I've said this, so I'm very anxious to get in there, but I don't want to put too much work into it until the height of hurricane season goes by.
So amen to that. So the back porch or the deck, there's a little bitty space, maybe about 3 or 4 inches, where obviously there's dirt all under the deck, right? So 3 or 4 inches between where the lattice is for the deck and the concrete, like the actual patio portion. And I have rocks. I didn't do any kind of like landscape fabric, so it's dirt under there. So I have one of the largest volunteer tomato plants there, and it was, again, my hope that it was a true red cherry tomato that was volunteering, because I didn't plant any of those. And it's that weird faux, I think it's Brandywine. I'm not sure if I really want to plant the seeds again and watch it closely to make sure that I've been bamboozled and the plant really, it's that like salad size, whatever, it's the size above cherry tomato. So not grape tomatoes, not cherry tomatoes, the size above that. That's what it is. So it is, and I did that whole long introduction because think about what this tomato plant is doing, like growing in this space. It's wild. It is vining. It's covering the entire kind of railing of the deck over there. And I'm like shimmying past, each day. And it's crazy to me that when you don't try, this is what happens. And they're absolutely I'm pulling off the tomatoes as soon as they start to go pink. Just because, again, the garden squirrels have been avoiding my area, knock on wood. So I don't want to give them any kind of hints that, hey, there's some food over here.
They all got COVID and dropped dead.
Oh, that's dark. But
That's the thing. All the squirrels are gone. No more squirrels. I can hear everybody cheering right now. You're welcome. Squirrels are evil.
I think do squirrels also torment mice and rats? Because, I'm team them if they do.
No, they're rats or tree rats. My grandfather was twisted, man. He'd sit out there. I'd go to his house. He's a World War II vet and Korean War, and he'd be polishing his BB gun. I'm like, what are you doing, Nopa? And he's like, watch this. And you could hear it, pow! And then the squirrel would fall. But he was getting older, right? So my grandmother would be like, now you go out there and you go pick it up. And he's like, no, let all their friends know that I'm here. It's like,
sounds like somebody else I know. Yeah.
Because he ate his tomatoes, and he just had enough. And I was like, you know what? You're 80 years old. You be you. If that's what you got to do. So a 40-year-old, 40-something. Let's just go there. We still got another few years where I could say that 40-something-year-old woman is like on attack for all things that are eating tomatoes in her garden now. So armyworm, yellow striped armyworm, caught like in the act. It wouldn't be like a garden update if I didn't mention that. The
hornworm, I'll call it, because it could be a tobacco hornworm, has found its way to my garden. Not only has it found its way to my garden, you're going to love this, but it has stayed so long where eggs are now covering a couple of the hornworms.
The white eggs?
The white eggs. And yes, I've left it. It's like a train wreck.
You win.
I cannot stop looking, but it freaks me out so much. Right. So I'm going to share, by the time this airs, it should be on Instagram probably, and maybe even on YouTube. I'll share
You're going to get crucified.
You know what?
I got crucified for mine.
Well, you know what though? My personality is so sparkly,
You won the war though. That's what that means. That is the death knell for hornworms. And for the record, I learned that we get tobacco hornworms, but whatever.
Yeah,
because there's no tobacco plants.
Someone commented that if the tail is brown, it's a tobacco hornworm. If the tail is black, it's a tomato hornworm. And after Googling and looking at pictures for like 5 or 10 minutes, I was kind of like, I'm just going to call it a hornworm and call it done. Right? I'm
going to call it a tomato hornworm and live my best life because it's on my tomatoes and it's a hornworm. But yeah, once you get that parasitic wasp on there, man. But so I raised my hand when you were talking because I read an article that the army worm is at an epidemic in the United States this year. It's like running rampant through everybody's gardens. And especially, I think it was in Missouri. It was like especially bad, which is kind of by you.
Yeah, you know though that all of these folks are my neighbors. I'm like, that's like right next door. And it's like not, but still.
Well, I mean, saying compared to North Carolina, you're way closer. So, and it's funny because I actually saw my first army worm ever this year inside a tomato. I saw it in the beginning of the year. And then I used BT and they were gone. So,
well, let's just make a note of August. August for me. Right, this is when these things appear. So now I've seen 4 hornworms. I picked off 2 at the early state. I know they're drag racing in between my garden beds or something. So I picked off 2 at the early state. They were just the worms, and then I rolled up and said, "Wait, what? Are those eggs? Oh, that's disgusting. Let me pull out my camera." Found another one. And so now I know that you love to hate this, but I totally ordered a black light and I stumble out, in the evening, like at 8:15 once it's like completely dark. And I'm just like, the first night I went out there, I was such like, a wimp. I was like jumping at everything. Like I knew where the 2 were with the eggs on them. So I know where they are.
Oh, you have 2 with eggs.
I have 2 with eggs, dude. Like it's a part there. It's like that's like sides.
Nuclear war.
I'm telling you, they're closing in. They're on 2 different sides of the cage, baby, and like kind of the plants on the far end. And I'm just like, now I'm looking for more. And I'd rather not go out in my garden at 8:15 to look for them, but it's clearly my calling. How many did you see
when you went out there?
I've not found any with a black light. But I found some. I found again damage from what's the other thing I called the army worm.
Army worm.
Yeah. So and I'm resisting the urge to use a black light like inside of my house. Like I just don't want to.
No, don't do that. And don't go to a hotel and use a black light either.
Don't pack it. Yeah. But all in all, I think that I'm seeing some new things in my garden that I haven't seen before. But goldfinch, yellowbirds. People on Facebook well, maybe there too, on YouTube and Instagram are telling me that the video I captured of birds flocking to my sunflowers, that's what they are. Real quick story there. When I first saw them, like they have like this yellow belly. I legit was like, look at me creating this ecosystem and all kinds of birds that don't even belong in Illinois are flocking to my garden. And then I Googled like yellow bird and it's like one of the most common birds, Yeah. So I didn't feel as special, but it's still pretty cool.
So it's really special too, because I've said it on here a bunch, but we are creating little mini ecosystems in our yards. And it's cool because you get these birds and stuff, and then the birds will eat the worms, and then the worms will eat this and that, and then you'll get this, and you'll get a praying mantis, and it's really cool to see all that stuff kind of unfold in your space.
What if one day I could just wake up and between the birds, chopping on the sunflowers, and I have covered, because that's what I do, a few sunflowers. So I'm going to have sunflower seeds at some point. But wake up and then the garden's just full of volunteers. That may be a garden dream of mine.
It can happen. All you gotta do is just start throwing stuff out there.
I don't know if that's really how that works, but
why not?
Well,
That's
I mean,
how it
the
worked
idea of like
in the past.
That's just planting seeds. Then, if you're just throwing stuff out there.
Well, so let everything go to seed and let it all drop.
Yeah, between the animals, between the pollinators, other things carry, seeds different places, between, the wind blowing seeds, all of my lettuce,
You'll be eating lettuce that a squirrel ate and then pooped out the seed.
Yeah,
Just
the best kind of
grubbing it up.
volunteer. But think about how it should be like the same 3 or 4 things. That's it. Like into the
Yeah.
entire garden.
You would definitely have a dominant species take over your whole garden at some point. And I would imagine, if I had to guess, it would probably be a sunflower.
Sunflowers and tomatoes. I have one.
Tomatoes are very eager to volunteer.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 volunteer
count,
tomatoes. But that's it. That's my top out at 6. 6 volunteer tomatoes. It's important to note that have put on fruit.
Yeah, I had one growing out of my compost pile, but I took it down the other day. I'm emptying my compost pile so I can flip my compost pile over so I can have good compost when I need it. And the tomato plant was getting big, but it was just real spindly. And it was making really small, weak tomatoes.
Yeah.
It's probably a grocery store tomato.
Yeah.
Or something from the winter. So I just got rid of
the
it.
compost.
But
Okay, good point.
my mystery melon is in. The verdict's in on what it is.
Oh, what is it?
It's a cantaloupe.
Of course it is. I hope it's a better cantaloupe than the one I pulled out of my garden. Well, the one that fell off the trellis today.
Didn't eat it.
No?
It had worms in it.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah. I have a video. I actually need to put it up on social media.
I do want to say, though, everything that I've talked about that I've found that's problematic in my garden, when I found it?
When?
During a garden walk.
Yep. Hashtag garden walks.
That thing was so loud, but I couldn't pull it back.
It's, that's when I found I went out there, and my garden walks now have become specialized. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I'm going to go check on this one thing, so now I'm going out and I'm checking on seeds. I'm not really even worried about some plants, but I'm just checking on certain areas. And that was when I was like, let me go check on this melon. And then I turned it over and I saw the hole drilled in the side of it. And I was like, damn it.
That reminds me, before we get to the recipe of the day, which I think we have a couple of minutes, I've said
1 minute.
I've said in other places, I'm not sure how often I've said it here, I like to let my peppers get to whatever their future state is going to be. But somehow I realized with all the peppers I planted, I purchased a couple of starts. And I purchased like in a 6-pack or a 4-pack or something, yellow bell peppers. And all the peppers I've been watching, these green peppers are looking good. I can't wait till their turn. I just realized they're going to turn yellow. And so now I'm like, I like the color, but sometimes those yellow bell peppers start to get spotty and kind of icky. Mm-hmm. So now I'm like, well, shit, I got to pull out a bunch of green bell peppers in. This is just what it's going to be. So
hey, at least you got green bell peppers that are edible.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's winning.
Well, speaking of bell peppers, let's go to the recipe of the day. A lot of y'all asked, how can you help support the Backyard Gardens podcast? Well, we have been busy and we have created a t-shirt line just for the gardener.
To visit our shop, go to the link in the show notes and check out the t-shirts and other goodies we have.
Now, these are super special t-shirts designed just for the gardener. So enjoy. Thank you for supporting the Backyard Gardens podcast, and we'll see you guys after the harvest. Okay, everybody. So we are getting close to sweet potato season. So when we get our sweet potatoes after we cure them, we are going to make stuffed sweet potatoes. And you just looked at me like I'm doing something bad.
No, man, I'm ready to hear it. We were going back and forth over the break. Like, is it your recipe, my recipe? I'm so glad that somehow you stood up and said it's you.
Yeah, I can't remember, but so what we're gonna do is you're gonna bake your sweet potato at 450 degrees for about an hour, and then you're gonna cook black beans, and you're just gonna warm them up, and then you're gonna drain them, and then we're gonna cut our sweet potato open, and you're gonna place your black beans inside, and you're gonna give it a squirt of honey, a pinch of cayenne pepper, salt, pepper, and then a little bit of garlic, and then you're gonna put them in the oven, and you're gonna rewarm them for about, I'd say 10 minutes, just kind of get them nice and cooked. And at this point, you can add cheese on top if you'd like. I actually don't. I will add butter at this point. And just, sweet potatoes and cheese don't really do it for me.
No, me either.
And then you take it out, and then I top it with chives, and you can even add some
sour cream.
It's lost. Yes, you could add some sour cream.
You hear the
as well
question mark in that answer?
Yeah,
okay.
It's weird. You can do it, and the honey gives it the sweetness, but it kind of gives you this Tex-Mex flavor. We've also done things. So as usual with every recipe, we'll take one and then we'll do multiple things with it. We've taken our beans and we've added taco seasoning to it and put it in as well, but that's very basic. We've also added like corn. So we've done a lot of different things, but we like to just keep it pretty simple and then dress it up as needed. And the honey really gives it that nice sweet flavor to add in, because once you put the beans in the sweet potato, it overpowers that sweetness of the sweet potato, but you get that nice consistency. So. Yeah. And that is how we make stuffed sweet potatoes.
Nicely done.
It's pretty simple. Oh, and we'll also top it with sauteed chard as well to make it a full meal.
Nicely done.
So, simple. How it should be, right?
Well, maybe. That's just how you like it. That's fine.
It is how I like it. I'm a simple guy. But the key, since we're growing our sweet potatoes, is to cure them correctly. So make sure that you've done that process. And let's see, when did you plant your sweet potatoes?
Some point early June at this point. So don't ask me questions that I don't know the answers to, because I just had that moment of like, I totally have sweet potatoes that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, you've got like probably 10 days or so before you hit your 100-day mark, huh?
Does that sound right? That can't be right.
Yeah, June. Let's just say June 1st, July 1st, August 1st, September 1st. That's 90 days.
How did I end up in October harvesting sweet potatoes last year?
Because you wanted to wait as long as possible, and I don't blame you for that. I don't think there was a problem with that.
I gotta get my act together.
I need to go out there and see if I've got sweet potatoes. I'm so anxious to figure it out.
I did put my hand in one. I have one grow bag, 20-gallon grow bag in the backyard, one fire pit. So I have a few fire pits in the front yard that I grow food in, bottomless fire pits. And so I dedicated one of those to sweet potatoes. And I did stick my hand in one of those, like just a few fingers. And I'm like, I don't feel anything. I'm like, I don't want to be disappointed. Like if I do feel something, it's probably going to be small. I'm just, I'll wait. Now I have to go to my favorite, time and date app. Well, it's not an app. It's just a website to count those days up.
Did you have do you have a lot of foliage coming out of it?
Yeah, this year is so much better than last year. So I'm really hopeful. I did want to note for those that are more local to me, I did double check for a forecast since we broke out of the 90s. 14-day forecast basically is going to put us maybe in the low 80s. Nights are going to be in the 70s, 60s. So it's here. Like the weather is cooling off for us. So keep that in mind. I went back a couple of years for September, and this is super normal for us. So,
did you see the report that we might not have autumn weather this year?
No, I did not. I reject that. Meaning like summer's gonna be extended, or is it gonna go straight to winter? No, don't answer. Don't answer. You can answer for them. I don't want to hear it.
Damn, I hear you. You get wishy-washy about this one. So, very quickly, they say that we're not going to have any fall weather. It's just going to go straight from like an extended summer. But it's all in their push to push forward the climate change agenda that everybody's obviously on. And I'm not denying climate change by any means, but, you know, I remember as a kid where I live, dude, there were some years and you just don't get a fall at all. Or we just won't get a spring at all, you know? So I'm curious to see how that pans out. But yeah, there was a big thing that said that because of global warming and La Nina or El Nino, whichever one it is, it's going to keep it warmer longer. So, hey, maybe we'll be able to grow food longer. What do I know? You know, if we're going to have global warming, let's embrace it.
Yeah. Let's. I was gonna say, yeah, let's fight the garden blues towards the end of the year, but I don't think subbing in global warming to get more garden time is something that I want to sign up for.
No. So everybody, this was our garden update for August. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you so much for being for spending your time with us, and check out our Patreon page. It'll help support us and keep us going and spread the word to more people. And check out our t-shirts. Links for all of the stuff is below. And if you want to make a one-time donation, the link is in the description. And wear a mask. Be safe.
See ya.
Thanks for hanging out with us today. If you want to see what we're up to or just stay up to date on all the announcements regarding the show or anything gardening, then you can follow us on Instagram at Backyard Gardens TV.
We love seeing what you guys are doing, so use hashtag BYG podcast in your posts, and we'll be sharing your gardens with the Backyard Gardens community.
And check us out on YouTube at Backyard Gardens, where we will post this show, all of our other shows, clips, and then also some gardening tips and just gardening entertainment. And you can see us at our website at backyardgardenstv.com. But that's it for today's show. So help us as we learn to grow and grow for change. And until next time, we'll catch you guys later. We'll call this one a wrap.
Now you know why people feel like celebrating at harvest time.
All over the world, people have feasting and good times when the crops have been gathered in.